Welcome to this very significant episode of the Wild Sonnets Out Loud. The new book, The Wild Sonnets, Volume 7, poems 601 to 700, was just recently released. And I wanted to use this episode to share two of the poems from the new book. And in fact, I want to do something kind of special. I want to read the first and second poem from the new volume 7. Since the second book of Wild Sonnets, each of the volumes opens with kind of a welcome, or at least an acknowledgement that we're actually starting on something of a journey together. Certainly me, solo as I'm writing these, but I know that eventually it's going to be something that the reader, joins me for. And so with that as sort of a preamble, I want to read Wild Sonnet 601, and then I'll also read the very next poem, and I'll discuss that in a moment. But for this episode, we begin with Wild Sonnet 601. Again, lift me from the imprint these limbs have left, and let them strike the ribbon of my reasons another 100 times, before I tug my papered purpose from the carriage out, and lay this century of songs aside. Olivetti that I am, who by tap and type have been made to learn the shift of key and character as I return. Let me not cherish the instrument more than the music it can make, foolishly fetish the veneer more than the voice of the hollowed wood, celebrate the stops more than the wild motion upon them. Let the Stradivarius sit, variously silent, in its case like a tomb. There is in me music enough to move the room. And that was Wild Sonnet number 601 from the new book, Wild Sonnets, Volume 7. The next poem, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be the very next poem in the book, 602. I actually moved this poem from another place in the book because it had kind of a humility and a very welcoming message that I really wanted to kind of follow up the first poem with. So with that as an introduction, this is Wild Sonnet number 602. I was made as elemental as the earth, as esoteric as the air I briefly breathe. Flesh and feeling stitched together in one calendar of counting. The days fall from me like an autumn everlasting. I celebrate the sparrow singing, and when it does not, as wonders waiting, when wonders are forgot. Since I shall be plucked out of my story like a page torn from a book, and whatever God there is will pocket it and walk away. And since it's certain you will be unseamed the same, let me memorize as best my meager and fading faculties allow the ink and eloquence of you and now. And that is Wild Sonnet number 602. I am placing links for the paperback and the digital editions of this new book in the description section of this post. I hope what you hear here interests you enough to want to get a copy. You can also visit me at my website, which is www.wildsonnets.com. But to conclude, I want to thank you for watching, and actually I want to inform you that I'm going to post the next episode of Wild Sonnets Out Loud almost immediately after this one, because I'm going to be reading the final two poems from the new book. But again, thank you for joining me for this episode, and I hope I see you for the episode with the last two poems. Okay. Until then, and even after, stay wild and stay well.